Awesome. Let's see who's here.
Hello, can you hear me?
There we go. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Andrea.
Can you hear me?
Debbie. Have Deborah and Valley. I'm enabling everyone so that you can speak if you'd like to.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can
And Amy, I've promoted you to panelist.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Yes, yes.
Hey. Okay, awesome.
Yay. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so we're super excited. Let's see, Vanessa. I think I'm just going to keep letting people in and allowing you all to speak. I think it's set up as webinar mode, so I have to go in and manually allow folks to speak. But welcome, welcome. I think we'll get started in just 2 minutes. And let me share my screen real quick. Share some announcements. Right, awesome. So as a reminder, we have our illustrious and wonderful Miss Amy Powers, who's going to be sharing with us today. So Amy is a master stager and an instructor. So for those of you who want to get started in the short-term rental arena, you're going to find out quickly that staging and setup is definitely key. And staging for a home sale versus a short-term rental there are some significant differences that we really need to take into consideration. And so I've seen homes that are just so well staged. Not only are the guests pleased with the property, and not only can the owner or the host demand a higher rate because of the way the house is set up and staged and all the little sizzle features. But in addition, the homes have been sought out to be placed in ads, for instance, cooking show, events, photographers kind of flock towards those homes that are that meet their needs. So staging can really give the home an opportunity to be utilized, and not only as accommodations for overnight stays, but those in between times or middle of the week stays. For instance, last week we hosted an HBO interview at one of the homes, just 4 hours or so. And afterwards, we looked at the revenue. It was the same as an overnight stay. So for 4 hours, you can, in between the time that guests are checking out and checking in, if it's feasible, you can definitely capitalize on that quote unquote downtime. They utilized the living room. They had the interview session, cameramen, they were in and out. So it was low utilization. And it's such a great experience. So staging does matter. And so, Amy, are you ready for us?
I am.
Yay! So without further ado, I present Miss Amy Powers, and let me make sure I can stop share and you can share your screen. Let me know.
Yeah.
Look into that.
Okay. It says host disable participant screen sharing. So can you edit that?
Yeah. Oh. All right. I have to go into the advanced options. Okay, try that again.
Oh, there you go. I'm in.
Awesome. Okay. So I stopped sharing and you may share.
My slideshow.
Yay.
Come on. There we go. Y'all see that?
Yes. We can.
short-term rentals and trends. So this is a luxury edition because
Yeah.
Rachel hosts a luxury short-term rental. So I kind of upped it to the luxury edition for you guys. But it's anything that I say can be applied to any type of short-term rental, whether it's a tree house, as in this picture, which is a unique experience type of a rental, or it could be a luxury rental. So it will work either way. So Rachel, if you could help monitor if anyone has any questions, because I won't have that little pop-up screen.
Yeah.
If
So
anyone has,
guys, put your questions either in chat or if you have a Q&A, feel free to
yeah.
place your questions in there as we go through and I'll monitor it. And Amy, do you want me to collect those till the end, or did you want?
If it's relevant to like a slide or something, I'm okay with answering right then on the double while my brain's paying attention to that topic specifically. So
I'm
just
on.
to tell you a little bit about myself, I've been a professional home stager since 2007, and so this is going on my 14th year. I've been working with investors as my niche, if you will, for about 10 years. And I love working with investors. And through that, I got involved with short-term rentals. I think it was around the Super Bowl time where I had several properties staged near the stadium, and some clients were like, "Do you mind if we put this up for a short-term rental for like a week or so around the game and so forth?" And I was hesitant because staging is different than planning for a short-term rental, but I use real furniture, so it wasn't that big of a transition. I just had to protect myself and make sure I wasn't liable for anything because I didn't stage it for people to, live in it kind of thing. But we did that. We made sure that everything was in the house that was necessary. And so we accommodated those needs for those investors. And then my short-term rental side of my business took off. I started teaching classes to other stagers. So I'm one of the national trainers I am the only trainer for the International Association of Home Staging Professionals for short-term rental, and they can get a specialist designation. As you can see, my little seal here in my photo, I created that designation, but I've also earned it. There you go. And I do live in Metro Atlanta. I live in Woodstock, so I am local. So we're going to learn a few little things today, and some of you may already know this. I don't know where everybody is, so I'm going to kind of start at a baseline and then we can work our way from there. We're going to talk about the platform, some little facts that I've collected over time, important terms to know, types of services that a stager can provide you as a host or owner of a property, why these services are important or valuable, some security tips, some trends. If you are starting off designing a short-term rental, some things to think about that might help entice those guests to pay more attention to your property. Experiences, very important, the importance of photography. And then also we will have more time at the end for questions as well. So some short-term rental platforms that you may be familiar with is obviously Airbnb. And a lot of people, when they're talking about short-term rentals, they say Airbnb, but that's actually just a platform. Vrbo, VRBO, Vacation Rental by Owner is a platform. HomeAway. All these are options. The most popular, I think, is Airbnb, HomeAway, and Vacation Rental by Owner. Some other platforms to consider too. There are platforms for nurses. There are platforms for airline employees who may want to book. I know I had one client who had an airline employee book for like 3 months solid because they were coming in and out of Atlanta, but they wanted to have like a foundation, a place to put their clothes. So they didn't have to bring clothes back and forth and such. And so that's an option as well. You can research any type of platform probably is out there for different executives, nurses, medical, and flight as well. So some fun facts. The short-term rental, STR, is actually the name, right? It's most defined as a rental residential dwelling where obviously it's not going to be for 12 months. It's going to be for 30 days, 31 days or less typically. Pleasure is business and pleasure. A lot of people are traveling now for business, but they may bring their family or they may want to do something fun as well. So a fun little term that has come from that is called pleasure. Atlanta is in the top 3 Airbnb properties after Nashville and Denver that have, you know, the most properties in the United States. So Atlanta is a gold mine for that. The average revenue is 55,000 per year. And so if you have multiple or if you have luxury, you can make more than that. Absolutely more than that. So the number one goal is for that revenue to increase nightly as well. One thing that I really like about Georgia that a lot of other states do not have is we have our own short-term rentals association of Georgia. And if you have not looked into that to be a part of, Pam Odell is a very strong advocate for the short-term renters owners here in Georgia. She goes to the state house in downtown Atlanta, and she is a lobbyist. She works with a lawyer, and they lobby for you for your rights. And so, being a part of that, having a large membership in that is very critical. Obviously, the more members, the stronger our voice is. And so that's something to look into for yourselves. And Propel is a great insurance company that I have learned about through the Straga group that specifically caters to short-term renters. Rachel, are you familiar with Propel?
I'm familiar with Proper.
Proper. Did I write that wrong? I made it it is proper.
Just one
You're
letter.
right. I put an L instead of an R.
Yeah, Proper insurance. And what I
Yeah,
like about Proper is not only do they cover what you would typically expect with insurance, they also cover bed bugs, which is something that happens from time to time when you have a traveling type of accommodation. We've never experienced bed bugs, thankfully, but when you go into like the mountain areas or some areas, I know that that can be an issue. So yeah, for them to cover bed bugs, that's a big deal because it's an expensive infestation to remediate.
right. And what makes them also unique is they cover what you would normally have for insurance, but should you get bed bugs or should something happen and for example, if your kitchen were to catch on fire because of a guest improperly doing something in there and you have to shut down to fix it, that loss of revenue is also covered, which is very unique. You won't find that with another type of homeowner's insurance. So they take that in consideration. You have to prove that you are making, that type of revenue, but they will also cover that, which I found to be very unique. And there is one or two other companies out there that offer that service, but I have found um, they are very active here in Georgia. Proper is so. All right. Types of services that a stager can offer you if if you're from out of town. No, REI USA has expanded, so if you're out of town, this might be something for you to look at. If you are there, there's different types of short-term rentals. There's if you own the property and maybe it's your second home, so you have furniture in there already, but maybe it is a little dated, or you just put your leftover furniture in there, but you want to update it. You can have a stager come out and offer a consultation where they kind of do a checklist and go room by room and make recommendations for you. They can also refresh it, meaning they can update art, throw pillows, a few little things that are going to help it feel refreshed, right? And then a refresh plus is where they're going to actually do the purchases for you and make sure that it is in line with everything that needs the photography and that you have the right furniture in there. It's just a little bit more of an elevated version of the refresh. And then with vacants, you can have short-term furniture rentals. You could rent furniture from stagers. You can rent them from third-party rental companies for longer term. But what I have found is the most cost-effective for most short-term renter owners is to go ahead and purchase everything. Don't do a hodgepodge. Purchase everything up front, make it look right from the very beginning. And I have found it typically pays for itself within the first quarter. So that's pretty good to know as well. Have you experienced that same feedback, Rachel?
Yeah, I have, especially for the whole house, that's usually better. But if you can get entire rooms all at once, that's gonna be ideal. I know that when we were starting, we actually wanted to be very, very cost effective. And so what we did was we sought out high-end properties. You know, we were just getting started. We didn't know if we were gonna, win or learn, because you don't lose in real estate, you either win or learn. So we found higher end properties that either were encountering a big moving sale or an estate sale, and we would go in and make a deal for everything. I want everything. I want your drapes. I want everything. And so I'm borrowing the mattresses and things like that. And so a lot of these homes were actually custom drapes, $50,000 drapes, just crazy out of control numbers. And we
Oh,
make a deal for like $8,000 and get 4 bedrooms furnished and all that jazz. So definitely it's going to be better to try to get everything all at once. I know some stores have packages and so on and so forth, but I think we lucked out when we were first starting a couple of years ago.
well, that is cool. Great idea right there. And then you have your luxury vacants, which is obviously going to have a little bit more of a elevated look. And there's all different types of luxury. There's modern luxury, there's traditional luxury, there's beachside luxury, mountain luxury. So whatever your target demographic, your audience, your guest will most likely be, you want to make sure you're thinking in that mindset. And then some people have started subleasing properties. They'll rent, and they may not have the ability to purchase a house or a property, so they can sublease. They rent it for themselves and then they sublease it back out for short-term rental, which is another viable stream of revenue if you are not in a place where you can actually purchase a property. And then there are some co-hosting, and a co-host, we'll learn a little bit more about that, is someone who's going to help the host maintain it in between guests. So the one thing I want you to walk away remembering is beds and heads are everything. So anything that touches the body, the sheets, the linens, the quality of the furniture, those textures are very important. You want to make sure if you're doing luxury, you want that higher quality bedding, that higher quality towel versus, you know, your standard, go to Walmart, purchase towels kind of budget. You do want to spend more on that. And when it comes to cleaning and maintenance long term, you will also get your money back in that way as well. Okay, so some terms. These are Airbnb terms that I think are important. Host, the owner of the property or the person who is in control of the rent. is is called a host. And that is, like I said, typically with Airbnb, I know different platforms call them different things, but if you say host, more than likely everyone's going to know what you're talking about. A super host is for Airbnb is someone that has elevated themselves. They have great guest experiences, great feedback. And the advantage of elevating yourself to a super host is you can charge more. And it's all about money at the end of the day, right? Absolutely. So a co-host is someone that works with the owner. It can be a property management company, it could be a neighbor, it could be any person that you have coming, a cleaner that comes and makes sure after the guests leave, they do a quick inventory check, making sure everything's there, making sure the beds are made and clean sheets and clean towels and all that good stuff between guests. So that's an important person to have on your team. If you're not doing it yourself, make sure you are working with someone that you trust immensely. An experienced host, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as well, is a host that their property has something extra offered. It's more than just a place to sleep. It's a place where maybe, you may have a pool, you may have a location near a really trendy area for restaurants, and so you can have that nightlife experience to offer. Uh, in the mountains, you may have that scenic view and that experience, that log cabin, and things like that. And we'll talk about how you can elevate an experience for your guests a little bit later on. So the value of stage, I know Rachel touched base on this as well. But to remember that this is a product, you are selling a product. And so with any type of product, you can look at a package of McDonald's fries and know exactly what that product represents. Has a long history. You're going to have this perfect French fries, the golden arches on the packaging. So you want the presentation of your property, that online presence, to have a beautiful product recognition. You want them to see your property next to another property. I definitely want to stay at Rachel's property versus, Sam's, right? So online presence is everything. Obviously, that's the platform. That's where people are going to see your property, engage, accept, make that commitment to stay at your property. So again, those pictures will draw more traffic in. The more traffic, you're going to be elevated as a super host. You're going to get more reviews. You're going to be able to charge more. It's a whole cycle. It's a cycle. And remember, beds and heads are everything, right? There will be a quiz. So a few little security tips I'm just throwing in here for fun. And I keep calling it at the bottom, it says propel again. I have to remember it's proper. I don't know why I said propel. Anyway, so different things to consider. We have the negative feedback of the party house, right? Everyone's like, oh, it's a party house, blah, blah, blah. So how can you protect your property from that and other things? I think a Ring doorbell with cameras on the exterior is very important. I say exterior because you don't want to compromise the interior of the property and invade someone's privacy. Is that the right words right there? So put them on the parameters, definitely the Ring doorbell, so you know who's coming in. You or whoever's maintaining your property can see, okay, so there's a family of four supposed to be in that property. So four people came in. Okay, good. Check, check, check. And if 5 people, 10 people, 12 people start showing up, you can be on alert that something's going on that you didn't agree to and your guest did not agree to. So that's something for you. An access code can help. you as well. So having that door keypad, so you don't have to worry about pulling keys and making sure keys are there and so forth. That is convenient for you, but it's also super convenient for your guests. And the more conveniences your guests have, the better. Having those cameras and that doorbell and the special codes gives your guest a sense of security as well. And they're going to have possibly their laptops, their phones, their family, their property in the listing, that short-term rental. So you want to make sure they feel safe. So, and the keyless entries, this is just a little tip. They don't show the oils from your fingertips. So you don't, you're not going to have that spy come up and put the baby powder on the keypad. It's just going to be something convenient. And then again, the proper insurance is important. So experience tips for short-term rentals. Having a 24-hour access. So, if they're traveling for some reason, maybe their car broke down, they can't get there by 3 o'clock. They're going to get there around 7 or 10 or 11. You don't have to stress out about being available. It's 24-hour access. Making sure you have Wi-Fi and streaming service options. Those smart TVs, they have Hulu. They could be the Roku TV, where you have Netflix and all that. So the only, minute you don't need to have cable. You can just have a Wi-Fi available. Save you a little bit of money as well. So that's very important. Having a bottle of wine if you know it's appropriate for the guest age that is coming to the property, and some wine glasses. If it's in the mountains, having a pair of binoculars or even a telescope can add to an experience so they can see the stars at night or bird watch, things like that. If you're at a beachside or lakeside, having towels and things that are going to really, help create fun and less stress for that guest. I like to always add games and books to my short-term rentals as part of my packaging so that, if it's a rainy day like yesterday, who was here in Atlanta yesterday? And with all the torrential downpours, it was horrible. So
Yeah.
that's one of those days where people are more likely to want to stay inside, have hot cocoa and play some board games, things like that. A great thing to consider is having specific maps, guidebooks, details on dining experiences in the area, maybe even having relationships with restaurants so that if it's an anniversary or something like that, you can say, hey, included in this package is a night out. It's such and such restaurant. I include in all my short-term rentals, I buy lamps that have the little chargers in them so that if it's on a nightstand or even if it's in a living room, they can just plug their charger cord. They don't have to carry the whole thing everywhere, and just charge their phones. That's something fun. If Metro Atlanta, we have the airport, having relationships so that they can have that pickup and drop off, providing, public transportation information, chauffeur services if you're in the working with entertainment industry level clients. That's something to consider. What sightseeing can be done in your area? What restaurant reservations or other type of reservations, concerts? Metro Atlanta has a lot of things available, and people come to Atlanta for different reasons over the year. But if you want to create an experience adventure for your guests, having some of those things in your back pocket could help elevate your property. Any questions on this? Rachel, do you want to add anything?
No, I think you really hit it on the head, because what it sounds like you're doing is really trying to understand the needs of your guests and providing a service to them to meet those needs. For instance, the binoculars that you mentioned at the mountain type properties, that's something I hadn't thought of. So I think that's incredible. And I have not unmuted, but given everyone allowed to talk ability. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or chime in if you have a question on a particular slide that Amy's on. But no, this is really, really helpful. No questions at this time.
Wonderful, thank you. So if you're planning for a project to get your short-term rental up and running, obviously, what type of service do you need? Do you need someone to come in and help you see it from a guest perspective? Or is it going to be vacant where you have to put everything in place? Make sure that you understand how many beds and heads can fit in a space. So you want to, I typically put in each bedroom, I put in at least one bed. Sometimes we have double twin bunk beds. Sometimes we have loft beds with, queens and things like that. So whatever the number of beds and heads you can fit in a space, make sure you have the number of dining in place, the number of seats that you would have in the living room in place. Know who your most likely demographic is. And, a typical Airbnb could have any type of demographic, but knowing the location and things that are offered nearby, you can kind of pick on who a demographic is and create that experience. Let your property tell a story. How can you enjoy this space? That's very important. So create that. If you're working with project managers, your co-hosts, whatever is, or whoever is on your team, make sure everyone has a clear understanding of their responsibilities. Um, for you if you're working with a stager, someone who's going to help design the space, clear responsibilities. Are they providing the electronics? Or are you going to take care of the electronics? What are they going to be specifically taking care of versus what you want to take care of? I have one client who they love to purchase their own coffee maker and toaster. And so and also they do the TV. I take care of most of everything else, but there's a few little things they just love to come in and add their brand to it. They have a specific way they set everything up, so that's their brand. Know your budget, make sure it's realistic. Are you going to purchase? Are you going to rent? Or versus the hodgepodge? Hodgepodge is like, oh, we have an extra sofa in the basement. We'll use that. Remember, especially for the luxury minded guests, quality is everything. We don't want it to feel like it's a second rate, you know, college dorm where, everything's used and so forth. You want it to feel special. You're going to get more revenue when you do that. And make sure you schedule everything and those before and afters for your sake, for your own planning to see where you were and how far you've come is super fun to collect. So let's talk about color trends. Every year there's new color trends, so I wouldn't get hooked up on too many super color trends. I think right now the big trend in design in general is white walls, maybe with that black wall accent. They are even starting to add different like chevron patterns or square patterns on a colored wall. Typically black. Black is really in right now for an accent wall. And it looks really good, actually. I have a project coming up where we've done that in almost every room, have a black accent wall, and it looks really good. It can help make a space feel very luxurious easily, and it's mostly just paint. So kitchen trends, this black and gold kitchen in the bottom, super, super on trend. feels very luxurious. People are traveling, they're staying at home in an Airbnb environment, short-term rental environment, and they want to have that luxurious kitchen. They want to feel, this is not my house, this is something special. So create that really nice niche environment for them to come in and just enjoy entertaining in that space. Colored cabinetry is very in right now. White countertops, very in right now. And the glass cabinetry is like the inserts where you can, see through. It can be opaque or it can be clear. Just very luxurious feeling. Countertops, quartz is number one, typically synthetic, it's non-porous, and it's very low maintenance for you. It costs a little bit more, but you're not going to have to worry about sealing it or it absorbing stains and such like that. So it's going to be cost effective for you in the long run. Butcher block is a friendly material. It's softer. It is porous, so you're going to have to treat it, but it is on trend right now. Did we get a question pop up?
No questions yet in the chat, but we can pause here before we move forward. Any questions, guys, on the countertops, on the trend of folks wanting to have a full kitchen and have access to that? Because I know in the past, what we had seen was, the short-term rental world, people weren't really cooking at home, so the kitchen didn't really matter per se. But since COVID, people are cooking for themselves more and more. Is that what you've seen also, Amy? Because I think that might be an important point we don't want to overlook.
Absolutely, and that's why we're stressing that as a trend for 2021. COVID changed a lot of how people are living. They're slowing down, having that slower paced life. They still want to go out to restaurants when they're traveling, but not all restaurants are open. I know in Georgia that just changed, but people are still being cautious. So where they may go out once or twice, they're still going to want to cook more in their own space just for safety reasons and for convenience. So having that space look as luxurious as possible, because you never know. You never know if that guest is going to want to eat out the whole time or cook in. So just creating that experience will draw them in. And then you can see here at the very bottom corner, there's different types of textures for countertops. A leather texture is really in with higher end listings. A polish is obviously going to be smooth. You can see grains, different veins and so forth in a polish, but it's going to have that smoother feel. The honed is going to kind of have a matte feel to it. It's not going to be super textured. Might have some texture, but it's not going to be a high gloss. It's going to be have a matte feel. Hardware, I think the black hardware is super in right now. Gold hardware is super in right now. I do know that chrome and the shinier metallics are out and trending out, and we will see that happen over the next year for sure.
So, Amy, what do you think of the black mat? Is that going to be here for a while? I really love, love, love that look, but I'm nervous that perhaps it's too on trend. What are your thoughts of that modern black mat, like that faucet there?
I have seen so much of it. I mean, that modern look right now is high trend. High trend. I don't think you're going to go wrong with that. So keeping that is is a positive.
Awesome. And we do have a question. So Andrea is asking about rustic short-term rentals, like a mountain cabin feel. She says, I personally do not like houses covered in natural wood, but but have balance with surround, I think. Andrea, you can unmute and give us a little bit more feedback of the question so that we can help you and offer value.
Sure, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, if we're investing in the mountains and it's really a more rustic place, these are more luxury, high-end, like I understand general staging and having a style, right, that you're communicating. So like with countertops, for example, like I understand that quartz is still going to deliver value and give people a luxury feel in a mountain setting. But it's kind of like you going to balance, right, the look and the fixtures, the stuff that you're doing there with where the place is. So if you're in the city of Atlanta, all this is very appropriate. But if you're out in the wilderness, then what, you know what I mean? You tone it down a bit.
Well, and there's different types of rustic properties. There's rustic properties where people are generally going to simplify and to, go off grid per
Yep.
se, where the more rustic, the more, demographic friendly that place is. And then there's the luxury mountain properties where you do want to consider having the quartz countertop, and you want to consider the maintenance for yourself as well. Different products are going to be higher maintenance over, like soapstone, things like that are going to be a higher maintenance, you know, installation for that property. So you may not find it to be the best value, although it can be luxurious. So picking the materials that work, if you're beachside, I would recommend the porcelain tiles. It's cool to the touch on the floor, is what I'm referring to. It's non-porous. So when you're going to have that moisture and that sand coming in and out because of the location, that's going to be a product that costs more up front, but again, it'll pay for itself over time. And in the mountains, the obviously hardwoods that are well maintained are going to be considered, a better value, because hardwoods can be warm, with a fire going, it's going to maintain some heat. Area rugs, things like that will also help protect it as well. So, did I answer or touch on
So, I mean, yeah, so somebody that's looking for that kind of off of the grid feel, what kind of countertops would you suggest?
Well, you might want to go with the wood countertops with,
Wood.
just have a nice protection on it so that it is not having the wear and tear. But that's also kind of part of that feel, that look, is having the character of some wear and tear, right?
Yep.
So play it by ear, if you feel like it's a place where someone might do baking, you might want to put granite at least somewhere so they can roll out, bread dough and things like that. If it's a mountain place where they're going to go hiking all day or fishing and whatnot and bring that home, what kind of mess do you want to take care of as the owner after someone leaves from that? So just take that into consideration and consider the cost as well as the guest experience
Great.
so that
Thanks,
it works
Amy.
for you. All right. I'm
Yeah.
glad I could help.
And let me touch on that for a second, Amy, because I think you bring forth a very, very good point. Ultimately, you don't want your cleaners and your cleaning team hating you because they can't get some of that stuff out. And so sometimes I think we may overdo it with the design, and we're just looking at how the place looks and how luxurious or how cute or whatever, or how, appropriate for the property. But you're right, it's a balancing act. Like, how do we maintain this? Because in the hospitality industry, it's not one person living there for the rest of their lives enjoying their chrome fixtured whatever, but it's, a lot of turnover. What does turnover look like? What does quick turnover look like? Did you implement something that has a ton of crevices that takes forever to clean? And so there's definitely a balancing act, So thank you for bringing that up. Great question, Andrea. Andrea, by the way, which mountain area are you looking to invest in, or you're considering? Andrea's
Maybe
on, I
she
don't know
may
if
have
she's with us.
muted herself back.
Okay, that's fine. We can come back to her.
Okay.
All right, let me.
So bathroom trends, these are trends where for super luxurious, which the one on the far right, if you saw that bathroom online and you're like, oh my goodness, that is the epitome of luxury. What story does that tell? I think bathrooms can feel sexy and have that elevated look, and it really is. Kitchens and bathrooms can really say luxury. The things that are in it, how well you pay attention to the details in that, the tile, the flooring, the fixtures, what type of shower head even is can be a sign of luxurious luxury and opulence. So just take that in consideration. These are probably some well, the luxury bath circle bathtub is super high end. I would call that luxe. Lux is Luxe or Lux. I've seen it both ways. Super high end, and having the really nice soaker tub. I mean, as a mom of three kids, you put a nice soaker tub in the property, and I see that, I'm like, that's that's where I'm going to be hanging out. Having that spa feel. I think bathrooms and kitchens should all feel light and bright, clean. So making sure they're not too dark. Doesn't mean you can't have dark cabinetry, but make sure that it is still light and bright as far as the overall feel. And organics, you never know if you're going to get that millennial or that Gen Z who really loves that organic, back to nature kind of look. So keep that in mind as well, who your demographic is. Any question on bathroom trends?
I really like this hex tile on the
The
wall.
hexagon tile, that is super on trend right now.
It looks so great, but I also see people will highlight with, they're starting to do like one wall with some geometric form wallpaper
Right.
instead of the tile. Like tile obviously makes sense in a bathroom, but
Mhm.
wallpaper accent also may be coming back.
Well, yeah, wallpaper has never gone away. Different types of wallpaper come and go. The thing about wallpaper is wallpaper can be very taste specific. So if you're going to use wallpaper, I agree, something simple like a geometric, nothing too busy, because that can overstimulate somebody. So you want to keep it clean and simple and, aesthetically consistent. Whatever your design is, make it aesthetically consistent throughout.
Right.
So, and I believe in replicating things. So if you're going to use gold, you should use gold at least in 3 different places. If you're going to use hexagon, you might have it in a wallpaper, you might have it in a bathroom shower tile, and you may have it in a backsplash in the kitchen. Like repetition of 3s is very design friendly. If you
Nice.
will.
That's a great tip.
So here is some photography of actual Airbnbs online. And there's some things that I think are really bad in these. Obviously the position of the photography on the left is bad. The color scheme isn't up to date. And I know those little swatches on the wall are not paint swatches for you to, to test the paint. There's like notes written on them, but that, that doesn't say luxury. That doesn't say clean, friendly. That feels like a secondary bedroom that someone's just renting out when it's a bedroom in a house that they're renting the whole house out. It's too personalized, too busy, too much going on. The other one is clean and has a little better feel, but I personally believe the flags and any personal items in a home that you are offering as an Airbnb and maybe your secondary home, vacation home, that it should still feel neutral and not like someone else is living there. You know what I'm saying? Like any hotel experience, if you're going to a hotel, intellectually, other people may have stayed in that room, but psychologically, you want to feel like you're the only person that's been in that room. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Here's some more wonderful things. And you can see the toilet seat up. That is personally one of my pet peeves. As a stager, seeing how much work I may have put in a house, staging it, and then finding the listing photographer left the toilet seat up. And so just make sure that the toilet seats are down. Rule number one in photography in bathrooms, for sure.
Hey, Amy, that's my pet peeve too. I hate when they leave the toilet seat up.
Oh my goodness. It's like, why?
Exactly.
Yes, I agree. So some really good tips that I have found that I use when considering putting things together for a short-term rental when I'm staging it is you are creating a scene. Real estate, as investors, real estate photography is very different than your short-term rental photography. And there may be overlaps, but it is different. You can see in these shots, we're seeing close-ups. We're seeing things that are telling a story, right? So we're creating a scene, we're telling that story. We're only going to use things that the guests can actually find in the home. Like they're going to find the games, they're going to find a place setting. And I'm not a big person on staging with place settings, but if you have a property that maybe can host larger groups, put the place settings out on the table so they can see there's enough seating for the amount of people, for beds and heads in that property at the dining. And that could include the dining, and it can include, the island with stools and benches and things like that. So that is an attention to detail. You have the close-up shots. You can have the far away typical shots where they can see the whole room, obviously. You want to create that. And you want to make sure, like I use typically 3 colors. I call it my color mapping. I have a 60-30-10 rule where 60% is typically going to be the flooring, the walls, the larger bulk color. And then 30%, like in this photography, you can see there's more navy in this. And then my 10% could be gold. It could be the white. It could be, a smaller amount of color, or a color that I want to be the pop, like a bright orange or yellow, any color that I want to use to control the eye is my 10%. So you don't want to overwhelm when it comes to color. You want to keep colors in balance, in check, so that it doesn't overstimulate, but you can provoke emotion and a sense of calm when you have that balance in color. And then if you have those experiences that we were talking about, if you have the binoculars or the telescope or the beach towels, make sure you're including that in the photography in your listing as well on your platform, so that they can see those amenities are available. And then you can add on amenities, like if you're at a lake, you might have kayaks or things like that. If you're in the mountains, you might have like, what's a good example of that? Golf carts, things like that, where they can get around. So they can rent that as an extra add-on, and you can include that in photography. Any other tips y'all can think of for short-term rentals that might be helpful?
Can you go over the percentages one more time, Amy? I just want to make sure I get it. So you said there, you've got the,
60,
uh-huh.
60, 30, 10. And I call that color mapping or color graphing.
Mhm,
And that is, the 60 is going to be typically your flooring, your wall colors.
mhm,
Your 30 is going to be your secondary most dominant color. And this happened to be navy.
mhm,
And then your third is the 10%. That's going to be your pop of color that helps draw the eye in and engage. So it could be like, it could be gold, it could be yellow, it can be, any color that complements whatever that 30% is.
got it. That's a pro tip, guys. I hope you guys didn't miss that. That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. I had to pay a lot of money to learn that tip. So here's some professional photography as well. And I don't know if y'all are familiar with Anya and Ingo. I do a lot of their short-term rentals staging.
She has,
And
I love that Scandy that she has, the one with the wall and the geometrical.
oh yes, I'm excited about that. Are you talking about the green room?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I love that room.
Mm-hmm.
That was a Scandinavian theme house. And, I had the natural bed that did not compete, but complemented that wall immensely. I wish I had a picture of that to show you. It is one of my favorites, and I will include that in my slide next time. But you can see I did a place setting, and they like to include some murals. Now, this mural in this picture, they had just put up, and they didn't finish putting it up before the photographer came, so it has it has a few waves in it, but it turned out gorgeous, and they always backlit it. So with some of those LED lights, you can use the remote and change it out. It looks gorgeous lit up. But in this house, navy was my 30%, and you can see the wall colors are gray. So we had some grays in there, and then white and gold were also gold/yellow were my 10%. And then you can see we have a fire pit, there's cornhole. Those are amenities that are on the property. So you want to make sure you're taking photography of that. And you can see on the counter, the kitchen counter, we had 3 benches to include extra seating. So we set a place setting for that as well. So reminders, super host is the goal, right? You want to build relationships, have a good team. And, I have found that having a good team, you'll get referrals as well for guests. Know the demographic. Remember the vacation mindset. How do you want to spend a vacation? When I think of the kitchen, especially, I think of my mother-in-law, who she likes to bring her favorite knife, her favorite pot, whenever we go to short-term rentals. But make sure that they have those things in place. And I love it when you take a photograph of the kitchen cabinets open so people can see, oh, there's dishes there. There's enough dishes for my family. There's cookware, there's bakeware, there's, a set of knives. So that's another thing to think of too, is opening the counters and taking pictures. Open the linen closet, open the laundry room, show them the things that are there. Very important. That helps with a mindset of vacation. Okay, all the things that we normally need are there, so we don't have to worry about that. The greater the experience, the greater the reviews, the greater the revenue, because at the end of the day, it's always about money. right? That's the reason we're doing it. So do y'all have any questions?
Wow, that was wonderful, Amy. And thank you so much. Guys, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute. Let me look in the chat. I'm not seeing any. So if there are questions, guys, that you place either in chat or in another section, feel free to unmute, take advantage. It's not often we get a chance to have someone of Amy's caliber with us. And we know as we try to, set something up, sometimes it's confusing. For instance, will this color go with that? Or, what's going to be ideal for this space? So take advantage while you have her, because definitely you can reach out to her and schedule a consultation. I'm sure she'll be happy to help you out. Okay, we do have a couple questions. Let's see. Thank you, thank
Took
you.
pages and pages of notes. Awesome.
Yeah. Do you have any furniture rental recommendations? Where would you recommend we look to rent furniture if that's the option we're pursuing? I know you mentioned purchasing is ideal, but if we're looking to rent, where would
If
you?
you're looking to rent, I will say, there's Brook, there's Court, there's AFR, which is American Furniture Rental. AFR, the person to talk to there is Cliff Walker. There's also Aaron's.
Okay.
And the thing about Aaron's is you're gonna, you got to be selective of what you pick there, but they actually have a rent to own. So you can rent it, but in the long term, you're gonna be able to, that goes toward purchasing. So think about that. That might help you. They also have a 120-day, same as cash at Aaron's. So if you find something you like, you have 120 days to pay it off. So you don't have all the extra interest rate, which is where Aaron's will really hurt you, if you're going to be honest. But that is something to consider as well. But I do want to reiterate that you are going to make your money back after the first quarter if you go ahead and spend that money up front and do it right.
Awesome. At the top of the hour. So how can people reach out to you if they want you to take a look at something, do a consultation, whether it's in person or online, or if they want you to stage their whole place? What's a great way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can call me at 678-951-0010. And that is my office line. You can leave a message if I don't answer, because if I'm staging or working with a client, I don't always answer, but I will call you back for sure. And I would love to work with you, to talk to you, to find out where you are, see how I can help you. I'm an open book. I've been staging, like I said, for 14 years. I consider my other stagers as colleagues, not competition. I've always been an open mentor, not worrying about, losing money, because at the end of the day, I I have been given knowledge to share, not to hoard. And I feel that way very passionately.
Awesome. So Amy's got the mindset of abundance. She's a go-giver. So Amy, what if I want to, let me tell you, what gives me the most joy, honestly, is staging and decorating and playing around with that. What if I want to learn how to do this as I continue to grow my portfolio? How do I learn from you?
Well, I offer this course. It's right around 3 hours. It's online, so it's on demand. You could, purchase it today and take the class, and it's very detailed, and I provide spreadsheets and so forth. And you can go to ihosp.com and look under the education tab, and then you can scroll down to where it says short-term rental. IHOS is wait, it's International Home Staging. International, oh my goodness, those letters. IAHSP.com.
Okay,
International Association of Home Staging Professionals.
Can you type that in?
Let me see. Can
Oh, I see it. Never mind. I see that it's
I'm,
typing.
I'm trying, guys, as she's speaking.
There we go. IHA.com.
SP.
And then you go to the education tab and then scroll down. I think mine is the last one because it's alphabetical.
Oh, guys,
Short-
I found you. I found it.
Short-term rental specialist. And if you're wanting to do that, which is basically learning how to stage a property, I do go room by room, and I include, like I said, special Excel spreadsheets that list everything that I would want and that I think should be in a space. And you can always customize it to whatever works for your property. You know, like add an extra bedroom, add a media room, things like that. And again, if you take the class and you have questions, I'm always available.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amy. I just wanted to give a quick reminder for the group. So for next week, guys, we're going to finish up our boot camp for Air DNA. So Air DNA boot camp is going to be part 3. That should pretty much wrap up the other sections in that data analysis portal, and do a couple case studies as well. So that's going to be our next session in 2 weeks, not next week. And last but not least, beginning of June, I wanted to update you guys on our speaker, Brenna Maples. She is a mortgage broker with US Bank, and she has lent to me and others who are purchasing vacation properties, primarily in the Southeast. So the Smoky Mountains, Panama City Beach, Destin, so Florida, Tennessee, I think possibly Georgia mountains as well. So she's going to be answering some questions for us because there has been some changes with how Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are doing things in terms of how many second mortgages and short-term rentals that you can take advantage of that 10% down payment. So definitely want to attend there and find out if you're ready to embark on this journey to get your next short-term rental, or if there are some things that you need to square away. So looking forward to it, you guys being with us. And if you have not yet downloaded my free guide, so a lot of people have been asking me, well, where do I start? Where do I start purchasing or investing in short-term rentals? So I'm a believer of try to start in your own backyard, look at what's out there. But if you're just starting from scratch and you want the most profitable cities, what I've done with this report, I work with Air DNA as well as some travel tourist boards to put together this list for you guys. It's at www.shorttermgems.com/best2021. So this list will include 75 of the top cities to invest in, from small markets to medium markets to large markets. As defined, small markets or cities that have less than 100 short-term rentals available on the market right now as far as listings. And so those are up and coming cities. Next, the medium are going to be 100 to 1,000. So those are, you know, steady, and the large markets have greater than 1,000. So, you know, those markets are definitely tried and true markets. However, the competition is real in those markets. And so how do you get someone to stop the scroll when they put in Atlanta? Why would they stop the scroll on your particular property? Well, Amy is teaching us those pointers right there. If you have a picture that's kind of lopsided and sideways and kind of weird and stuff on the wall, well, they're going to scroll right past you. The goal is to get them to stop the scroll, click into your property, and book. And staging and photography really, really play a component when you're, you know, operating one of the larger markets. But the reason the smaller markets are small, they are up and coming. I looked at one, Morganton, Georgia, Cherry Log, Georgia were the two that appeared in the small markets. I think last month they had about 24 rental properties or so. Now they're up to 50 something properties. So it's getting really serious out there. And yeah, definitely. I think now is the time to invest. Brian Chesky, the CEO of Airbnb, said there are not enough homes right now. Oh, congratulations. Debbie says she just went under contract at a cabin in Morganton. Woohoo!
Yay.
Awesome. I want one too, Debbie. That is fantastic. Yeah, that market is amazing right now. It is jumping. And so you're probably going to get a really decent deal now, but yeah, probably not for long eventually because the competition is steep. But Brian Chesky says that with the fact that a lot of companies are going to allow their remote workers to work remote, 50% are going
Yeah.
to remote, we're going to need housing. He's anticipating that he needs over 1 million new hosts or 1 million new
Yes, I
visitors.
saw that.
Man, guys. So
Can I piggyback on that, Rachel?
yes.
One thing I like to add to houses too, and you may have seen an example of that, is I like to make sure there's a desk in every property as well for that very reason, because you never know. Like we talked about pleasure, business and pleasure. They are working remotely, but they're bringing their families with them.
Yep.
So, they're having that as well. And one more thing, I love to barter. So, especially if you have a beach property and you need a consultation, we can work something out.
Let's work it out. I'm under construction now and I need to figure out the flooring situation and all of that jazz. So I will be connecting with you, ladies.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other comments before we leave? Guys, I thank you so much for joining us this Tuesday morning, early. Thanks for hanging out with us and definitely reach out. You guys know that I have a Facebook group. If you go ahead and sign up for this report, you'll get the link to the Facebook group too. But reach out. You can find me in REI USA. You'll find me on Facebook. I think I'm on Insta a little bit. I'm trying to get my life there as well, but I am happy to help. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Bye.
Bye.